Now then chaps, we're about 5 weeks away from the next Civic race and it doesn't need anything. Well, it needs a few little things, but nothing major. So we can turn back to this corner at last. Who are we going to choose? Well, you'll have seen by the video title that I am getting cravings an der Nordschleife, right? I've been invited to a few ring trips this year and, you know, could have maybe took this one on that, but I want to take this one. The M3's not been out this year at all, you know, crap, it's been sat there, it's been the worst year ever, really, maybe, I don't know, maybe, but yeah, this one's now mostly onto the EG, don't worry about that. Merd's just chilling, fine mate, have a rest, yeah. This one I've been using it a little bit on the road and all that, and it's good, it's a good car and all that, but this is the one that needs to go back under Nordschleife. Now, I've got a list. We're going to probably add to it more as we go along. Refurbished rear end, add lightness, had a front splitter, changed the rear exhaust. Steering wheel, I want to change the steering wheel. Replace the front arches, needs an MOT, and we're going to look to replace the shifter, replace the factory shifter with something else, something a bit taller, hopefully. And the car's mostly been covered, but this is just sat here like that. I don't know why I guess I disconnected the battery and forgot to pull the cover back on it, and just sat there since. So let's get it on the ramp. Our first job is going to be to strip the rear end. Let's do it. For the next couple of minutes I'm just going to be getting the car on the ramp and then I'm going to start stripping it down. The car hasn't been run for at least 6 months, maybe longer than that. It's just been sat in the barn, half covered. So the first job is to see whether or not the car's going to start. Now we need to see about freeing the car from the gap that it's in, and it's being blocked by another M3. First world problems. So one thing that I hate doing is starting cars up cold. If I don't have to, I'll always try and push them or wiggle them. So with the SMG, you can put it into neutral as long as you've got the ignition on. So I managed to roll the car back doing that. Now it's time to climb back in the blue M3, very graciously, pull my leg in, and now we should be able to get out. But it's still quite tight, so I ended up moving this car out the way. If you've ever owned an E46 or any BMW reel, you know the parking sensors aren't the strong point. Now I ignored my parking sensors here, but it turns out I actually ran something over. It was me Pringles and another little box that I needed to take away with me. So, oops. Luckily nothing was too damaged and the Pringles were still very much good to go. So now we can finally get the M3 out and get it onto the ramp. So now with the car on the ramp, we can have a quick look at what we're getting stuck into. So we're going to start with the rear axle refurbishment. We're going to strip the car down, all the rear ends coming off. This is where I remembered something else for the list. The rear brake lines have needed doing for a little while. They're not totally corroded, but the fittings where the brake soft line goes, the flexi line, that's corroded, so I've needed to change it for a while so I can fit the braided brake lines. But we're going to start by taking the under trays off at the back. These are mostly cable tied on. And we can start to see some of the corrosion around the back of the car. So I'm just taking the V-brace off now. This is just an M3 only part, I believe. Yeah, it came off gracefully. And now we can continue cutting cable ties and getting these under trays off. Next it's time to try and get the exhaust off. Now the exhaust clamps on E46 M3s are well known for rotting off, and yeah, there's a kit you can buy. I bought this kit a few years ago, which is what you can see on the car now. It replaces the factory clamps. But yep, corrosion can still happen, and mine were completely seized, so I ended up having to cut the bolts on the clamps. The clamps are still usable and serviceable, but I just need to buy some new bolts. Now it was time for Jackie to come out. He was going to help me get the back box off. So the back box on the M3 is really large. Obviously it's got the 4 tailpipes, but the back box goes all the way across the rear of the car. It's really wide, quite a heavy item. So this back box is not totally original. It is an original system, but it's been modified for some extra volume. It's not that loud though, and I don't think we're going to put it back on the car, but more about that in the future. Next, let's get the center section off. So you can split this at the cats, but I tend to just take it off all in one piece, which is what I'm going to do now. Here you can see the gearbox. Now I've noticed a bit of oil coming away, and I don't know if that's coming from the crankshaft seal or from the engine or from the gearbox itself. But I realised that I'd never done the clutch or flywheel on this car, and whilst it doesn't give me any issues, there's no chattering and there's no clutch slipping, I figured it'd be a good time to replace the clutch and flywheel, because I did buy a lightened flywheel for this car a couple of years ago. So it'd be nice to get that fitted whilst we're doing all this work. So here comes the centre section. It's a bit cumbersome, but having Jackie help me and the ramp obviously makes it a lot easier. This is also pretty heavy, but maybe not as heavy as what you'd think. So now with the exhaust off, we can see a bit of the corrosion underneath. This is the subframe support brace you can see. So next I decided to get the trailing arms off. I'm going to undo the 3 80mm bolts at the front. And next I'm going to look at getting the prop shaft off. So this is connected to the diff with 6 E12 bolts. This is one of those jobs where having a cordless ratchet pays for itself. Obviously all ratchets are cordless, but an electric cordless ratchet. Thank you. Yeah, correct. Now I was just using a chisel to break the seal between the input on the diff and the prop shaft. I started pulling the brakes off individually. My first plans were to leave the brakes on the car so that I wouldn't lose any hydraulic fluid. But then I realised that I was probably going to refurbish the brakes as well. I was planning on trying to get a lightweight kit, maybe a Porsche rear kit or something like that. But I've decided to just refurb what I've got. So what I'm doing now with that piece of wood is applying some pressure to the brake pedal. So that should stop the system completely emptying itself when I do cut the rear brake lines. I'm also undoing the handbrake cables so that when we pull the subframe off, the handbrake cables will just pull through with it. The subframe's nearly ready to come off now. All that's holding the subframe on are the 4 bolts and also the top of the struts. So I lowered the subframe down onto this board, and then what I'm going to do is climb underneath, undo the bolts. I've already slackened them off slightly with the impact gun, and now I should be able to just lift the car and the subframe should stay on the floor. Alright, operation success. We had to go and recover the combo, so yeah, 11:45 man, a little bit later than expected. But why am I taking all this off? Well, if you don't know, now you know. What happened was I did the old, you know, refurbish the rear end not long after buying the car, probably about 5 years ago now, and just didn't do a real good job. I mean, you can tell, look at it now, look, the surface corrosion on stuff. This was all painted kind of this kind of black. It's not quite stone chippy. It's a bit stone chippy up here, but it's like just a flat black under there. I did from here backwards, from near where the fuel tank is. You see, backwards, and yeah, it would just, I could tell. I mean, especially around the plates. Look, I made a few silly errors. I didn't key it properly. I didn't put any filler, seam sealer between the gaps or anything like that. Just nasty. And there's a lot of the subframe as well, which was powder coated and stuff, and just don't look too clever now. So I've been wanting for a while to just smarten it up, and yeah, why not? Let's do it. And you've seen the jobs list. I've been wanting the new exhaust for a while as well. This is the OEM exhaust, which has been modified a little bit to make it a little bit louder, but it's still pretty quiet. I mean, it's a nice exhaust system, but it's heavy. It's real heavy, right? The factory exhaust system on this. And I want to add some lightness as well. So yeah, what I'll probably do, we'll come back up tomorrow. We need new rear brake lines as well. That's why I cut these. I mean, these have been wanting to be replaced for a while. I think they're the original ones, so yeah, they're pretty knackered. But we'll get the fuel tank off tomorrow as well, and just I'm pretty sure it'll be all right under there. But the reason I want to take it off is because, you know, I'm going to be grinding away at all this and all that, and we'll just double check, you know, some more of the work. It must have had I don't think it's a factory brake line, so this brake line must have been replaced at some point, but it's still pretty corroded, like, you know. Yeah, enjoyed myself. It's always more fun taking cars apart than it is putting them back together, innit? That was alright, that wasn't too bad of a job. Maybe my rear crank seal's leaking. I've never done the clutch or flywheel. I wouldn't mind a light and flywheel, that'd be quite cool. But there is definitely a bit of weeping. I don't know if it's coming from the sump. It's had the bearings done, so I don't know if it's just coming from the sump or not, but there's definitely a bit of a weep here, so it might be worth taking the gearbox off, having a look at the clutch, and more than likely putting a light and flywheel on. The rest of the driveline's pretty good. I should probably change the centre bearing as well while we're here. But yeah, everything else is pretty good on this car. It's pretty solid. Yeah, the rear end, like I say, it was powder coated, and just maybe not the best job. But I was thinking about going solid on the subframe bushes, and we also need to do a proper fix on this diff bush, which yeah, needs replacing. It's nearly fallen out actually on it. Yeah, just trying to leave the chart, that diff bush, look, so that's no good. Rear bar, it's got Turner turn and rear bar on it, hard race arms. Oh yeah, there's still an original bush. There's still 2 original bushes here, which is the inner one on these arms on where the spring seat. So yeah, they're currently original rubber. We'll change them for, I don't know, maybe a spherical item or a poly bush or something like that. I'll have a look into it. But also the drive shafts are stuck in the hubs, and I've just kind of left it because I don't have to worry about it. But drive shafts are pretty old now, and I might want to refresh the boots and stuff, so we might look to get them out. But yeah, tomorrow we'll leave this as it is for now. Tomorrow I'll come back up and we'll get this fuel tank off, I think, and we'll have more of an idea of what to do. I've not ordered any parts yet. I need to get, you know, this is me getting in the mojo today, but yeah, didn't do a very good job on this. But I've learned a lot about all this stuff since, so we can sort it out. And we want some new brake pipes as well, because they're all rusted in, so we'll do some new brake lines. I think, is there a joiner there? No, there's a joiner there. Yeah, we'll give it a good service as well while we're here, why not? Bit of TLC for the M3. I'll see you tomorrow, we'll carry on. Right, we're on to day 2, and the first job is to get the fuel tank off. So I'm going to support the fuel tank, or Jackie's going to support the fuel tank, and then I'm just going to start unscrewing bolts and pulling off pipes. Before the fuel tank can come off, we need to get the prop shaft out of the way. It's held in with 3 M12 bolts, which are, I think they're 100 Newton meters or so, but it's a bit fiddly to get off. And then comes the fun of trying to get the car into neutral so I can spin the prop shaft to get to the other bolts. Now with the prop shaft out of the way, we can get the fuel tank off. Some of these connections, some of the pipe fittings were super tight. I remember them being like this the first time I took the fuel tank off a few years ago, and it's certainly not got any better with time. Right, that's the fuel tank off. More involving than what I remembered. A lot of the pipes had kind of almost welded themselves on. It was really tricky. There's 3 ones that you have to take off. This is the main, well, this is the return, I think, but that's been pretty mangled. I think it's fine to, I've not punctured it, so I think it's fine, but pretty mangled. And then the breather system's just, yeah, a little bit painful, but it's off. If we have a look at the undersides, yes, there is some corrosion, which, you know, I would have painted over before or whatever happened before, but we also need to take that off to get to the back bits here, which we probably would have struggled to do with the fuel tank on. The rest of it's not too bad, where it's been covered by the fuel tank. You know, little signs. Yeah, it's definitely had a brake line in its past. This is, looks like I've done it really, doesn't it? It's just kind of floating in the wind, that brake line. But we'll replace that one as well as the other side. So we'll have 2 new rear brake lines. The fuel lines look all good. They're a bit crusty this side, but you know, functional, so we'll not worry about it too much. I don't know if we want to revisit it until I get a proper cage, the cage mounts, but next job for me anyway, I'm just going to have a little tidy up from doing the fuel tank, and then I'm going to take the gearbox off and we'll see where this, I mean, I've got a light and flywheel anyway, which I bought for Le Bar Steward, so I've never put a clutch on the car, so it's probably worthwhile doing. So we've got a light and flywheel there. It's single mass. We can weigh it, I don't know what it weighs. Had some heat on it as well, so I'll try and maybe clean up the surface a little bit. Looks like I've already tried to do it a little bit, but maybe we could do it getting that skimmed or something before we use it. But yeah, I just want to, well, I'll investigate. It's still on the original clutch of the car as far as I'm aware, so I mean, if we get into it and the clutch looks mega, then I'll happily just send it on, you know. It's not too big of a job on the ramp, the gearbox. Although with it being original and never having a clutch before, that means that obviously every bolt will be in, so I'll have to get all the extensions out. But I'm just a little bit worried about this oil leak. It could be coming from the top, or it could be coming from the crank seal, so we may as well have a look. I mean, I've had a look down the sump, you can't quite see. If I look down the sump, and the sump looks fairly dry, but it seems to be around the gearbox area, and it seems to be coming from, just take this torch off a second. It seems to be coming out of that hole there. I mean, it's not, maybe that one as well. I mean, it's pretty oily at the back. I can see a bit of oil on them lines as well, so maybe it's not, but I wanted to put the light and flywheel on anyway, so yeah, we'll get the gearbox off next. Well, I'm definitely feeling like this gearbox has never been off before. It moved. Wow, wowie you are. Right, shifter's free. Now there's 2 big bolts at the back. Probably E16 maybe. Oh, I can see one of them up there. I can see another one there. There must be 3 more. That's only 2 I can see. You'll not be able to see this, so I'll catch you when I've done them. Right. These 2 bolts, there's some difference in the colour of them, eh? They go at the top of the gearbox, right? Bit crusty, got a bit hot that one, isn't it? These 2 hold the starter motor in. That's 4. These 2 are on each side. 6. These 3 are on the bottom. 9. 9? This one holds the cover plate in. All the bolts are out, right? All the bolts are out, the shifter's loose, but she will only come out. Now, the only thing that I can tell from jiggling about and stuff is that the starter motor seems like seized in almost. So I'm wondering if it's just the starter motor grabbing. I mean, I'm trying to free it off, but it's kind of hard to get into, you know. It's focus you. It's kind of hard to get into, you know. Oh, it's gone again. Anyway, yeah, I'm cutting my hands up and stuff, but I'll persevere. I'm wondering if maybe I should get the engine support on, and then maybe lift it from the front from that. Maybe would that help? I'm thinking it would help, but I don't know if I better get up there with a step ladder. I'll try it. Right, I've got a bit of positive pressure. Can you call it that? I don't know. Look. Yeah, I can wiggle in the starter motor and it's wiggling the full thing, so I just gotta keep levering, I think, and hopefully it frees off. I mean, I might be chasing the wrong thing here, but it feels like it's just a starter motor which is stopping it. Hang on. This is a B&W gearbox, that's where the starter motor goes. There's a little dowel at the top, we've got that out. So that's it. So the two bolts go through there. So how can it be seized in? It doesn't make sense. Making a right mess of my arm. Yes! Right, that noise was the starter motor, who is now free. Right, so if it was the starter motor, that means it'll now come out. As long as this lad's got a good grip. Too far forward maybe. Fucking hell. This is hard on yourself. She's close. She's real close. She's out. She's out. She's just sat in the. She's just sat in the tunnel. Nice one, Jackie. Oh, that was a task. Now we'll take the clutch off and have a look. But I'm not seeing, yeah, maybe a little bit oil there. Trying to think whether or not, I mean, we'll change it anyway, but the sump goes on there, maybe it's just from the sump. Look, BMW. Pretty warm. Not too bad though. Oh, it's had some heat. Fucking hell. Stinks. Man, it's got really hot for some reason. This isn't as heavy as what I thought it would be. The old dual massa, still in decent condition as well. I thought the clutch and the firewheel will be more worn than that, but let's see what they weigh. $11.1 for the dual mass. Six and a half. Yeah, 6.5. So percentage wise, is that like 40% lighter? So this clutch has done 120,000 miles over 20 years. The only surprising thing out of all, I mean, it's in good condition, but the only surprising thing to me was how much it smelled back here when I lifted the plate back. Looks like there's been some heat there. Right, well that about wraps up the teardown. So we got gearbox off, clutch off, rear subframe off, exhaust off, fuel tank off. Yeah, it's been it's always more fun taking parts off, isn't it? I mean, if we put some nice parts back on, maybe that'll be more pleasant. But next up, we're going to be prepping this area. I'm going to be away for a couple of days, so might end this video here and continue in the future. But yeah, we've obviously got this stuff to sort out. The metal's fine, it's just, you know, it just wants cleaning up and you know, sealing properly this time, eh? I'll order some parts for the rear subframe. I'm not sure what I'm going to go for yet. And yeah, gonna have to spend it's gonna be a fair chunk of money with a new clutch and all that jazz as well, and new exhaust and some new wings, and it's gonna be a fair chunk of money. But I've been wanting to do this for a while. I mean, I wanted to do it last year really, and you know, we spent money on other things last year, didn't we? Got it going fast, but and sounding good, but yeah. Anyway, not bad, eh? Back on the M3. I'll let you know how I get on. Maybe this video will continue, maybe it won't. You'll know if there's some letters on screen now of names of people who support the channel. If not, the video might be continuing, so stay seated. If not, it's gonna end. So goodbye.